Welcome back, guys. This is day 3 of KTG, I guess, contact theory of gases. And in the last class, I asked you to convert these graphs into, I just gave two examples and asked you to people to convert these graphs into something else, right? I mean, into PT, VT, ROT kind of graphs. I'm not going to discuss all the graphs. Only one girl showed the answers to me. But anyway, let's discuss all the answers. Let's look at this point. Let's talk about the constant pressure part, this part that actually stays like that because it is a constant pressure process only. And then goes the constant volume process. The constant volume process has to look like this. And then happens the constant temperature process. This is exactly how it looks. So you have to name it. This is 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think this is the answer. If you disagree with this, please let me know. Okay, so once you do that, you can basically do that for every graph. Okay, now you have to do it for VT graph. In VT, constant pressure goes like this. The pressure is increasing, so volume is increasing and temperature is increasing. Constant pressure process, and then constant volume process. 2 to 3 is a constant volume process, and then constant temperature process. This is how the graph must look like. Okay, and rho t, if you have VT, you can convert it into rho t because volume, 1 by volume is like mass by volume is basically density. So you can easily convert that into rho t. This was a interesting graph yesterday for us, right? So let's look at how we can convert this thing. First of all, we have two isotherms. So there must be two constant temperature lines. So I'm doing that. There must be two constant temperature lines. And there is a isobar, so a constant pressure line, and a constant volume line. In this constant volume line must look like this. So the graph must fit in between these lines. Okay, this is how you convert the graph. I hope you're understanding that. In VT also, if you want to do the same thing, let's do the same thing again. Constant temperature, two of the lines must be constant temperature lines. One is a constant volume line and the other is a constant pressure line. Does it look like this? I think it kind of looks like this. Wait a second. So this is a constant pressure line. So if you strictly follow all the point like 1 to 2, 2 to 3 and all, this will be 1 to 2 because of constant pressure process. And then temperature is constant, but volume has increased. In this part 2 to 3, temperature is constant, but pressure is decreased, volume is increased. So since the volume is increased, I'll go up, and then constant volume, so volume constant, and then again temperature decreased. Okay, so this is how you slowly turn one graph into another. This is just for an exam purpose. Okay, there is not really much of there are uses for this. When you go into thermodynamics, you must be ready to convert one of these graphs into another. There will be more of these questions. Like I can give you more questions like this. I can give you a simple question like a PV graph, except all the lines are like this. So the whole process goes like this. So let me draw it properly with the colors. PV. So two of them are constant pressure processes and then constant volume process. So the cyclic process goes like this. Let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 1. If you have to convert this graph, all you have to do is like, let us just say I have to draw PT. I have to draw PT graph. I think all you need to do is first of all two constant pressure and two constant volumes. So the constant volumes go like this, right? They all have to pass through origin. So the graph has to fit in between all these four lines. Where it starts and all, you have to be careful. Okay, like what volume, what constant temperature and all. If they give the values like this is V1 or V1, this is V2, this is P1 and this is P2. The whole process in between happens in between P1 P2 and V1 V2. So all you have to do is just do the calculation. I mean, look at the processes like clearly. It starts at P1 V1 and then P2 V1 goes to P2 V2 and comes back to VP1 V2. So it's easy. It's not that difficult to convert one graph into another graph. If you have any doubt regarding this part of the class, please let me know. Please raise your hand and let me know. If not, we can go further and do other problems. Now guys, remember all these processes are called as cyclic processes, okay? Cyclic process, because it is following a cyclic method. It's starting at one point, one of these points, going and coming back to the same points. So all these processes are basically called as cyclic processes. So just a name that you need to stick on to. All right. Now, I think it's clear for everyone. There are more graphs for sure. There are a more fun way to put kind of questions from PV, VT, PT graphs. There can be a lot of intuitional questions on that. Okay. But since we get into the practice, like when we get into the practice, we can talk about it. Right now, I'm not really going into all those kind of problems. Except we'll come back to the same idea. We were talking about Boyle's law, Charles' law, which is constant pressure, constant volume. We've already talked about it. And then comes the Avogadro's law. We didn't talk about it. It's a basic idea, Avogadro's law. It talks about the number of molecules or number of moles. Or number of moles. The basic idea is if you have two gases, volumes are equal V, pressures are equal P, and temperature is also equal T. According to Avogadro's law, the number of molecules, capital N or small n, you can say anything, like capital N is number of molecules, small n is number of moles. I hope you know what a mole is. Well, how much is a mole? Anybody? You completed chemistry, you must already know how much is a mole. So like a mole is a specific number of molecules. Can somebody give me the number? 6.023 into Sharath, yes, you are right. 6.023 into 10 to the power of 23 number of molecules is called as 1 mole. So as long as these three quantities are equal in two gases, you can be pretty sure that the number of moles are basically equal. He proves it from the equation only, like from the equation that we have PV equals to 1/3. What was the equation? NMVRMS square, right? So from this equation itself, like these values are equal. Whenever these values are equal, this has to be equal, right? So he proves it from that, but you don't really need that proof. Okay, just a statement that you need to remember or understand that the number of moles are always equal. Okay, whenever these quantities are equal. With he makes a statement, something says with same pressure and temperature, equal volumes must have equal number of moles, irrespective of the type of a gas. Irrespective of the type of a gas, equal volumes have equal volumes must have equal number of molecules or equal number of moles. Okay, and after that there are these two small laws which might completely don't, I mean, which don't really look that important, but they are actually. Okay, let me take you through the textbook itself. If you people are willing to make so if you're thinking of skipping these two parts, it's really important. Okay, there are some problems where you might come across these formulas. I mean, I've seen some students in the past simply skip these. I mean, like they don't really skip, but they don't really go through this thing, the law of diffusion and partial pressures. This is also important when it comes to mixtures of gases. Okay, this is really important when it comes to mixtures of gases. So you'll be coming across some of the problems that says there is a mixture of this gas and that gas, like in the same container itself they mix let's just say helium and nitrogen, and they talk about the states. They talk about all the quantities like pressure, temperature, volume, and all. So when it comes to these kind of mixtures and also, it is really important. Okay, let's talk about the first law itself, the diffusion law. Diffusion is like the word itself, like how fast is it diffusing, the rate of diffusion, strictly speaking, the rate of diffusion. So the rate of diffusion is directly proportional to that vrms of that molecule or the gas. The rate of diffusion is basically vrms, it's proportional to vrms. Okay, So if the molecules are really fast, if the molecules are moving really fast, they obviously diffuse really fast. So that is a same important statement. From this, they bring VRMS is basically proportional to this. Remember this 3p by rho, I guess, right? So they bring a relation between these two, saying rates are proportional to VRMS. So rate R1 by R2 equals to V1 by V2, and VRMS is this. So from that, rates are inversely proportional to density. So that is an important point. The density of a gas, so rate is inversely proportional to the density of square root of the density of a gas. Okay, so you might not come across this problem. I mean, I'm not sure if you have come across this kind of a problem in chemistry, but there is a chance that there is a problem in physics that you might face. Okay, the rates of diffusion simply depends on the reverse ratio of inversely proportional to the square root of the density of a gas, and the density of a gas again depends the mass and the volume and all. It's a whole different picture again, but just a reminder. So if you have a mixture of gases or like two gases which are randomly diffusing, so he gives his statement saying R1 by R2 equals to rho 2 by rho 1. You might face a problem simply on this statement, that's all. Okay, I didn't really see really like problems on this concept which are really deep. I never really seen that, but just a simple idea it is. Okay. And after the diffusion, the partial pressures, Dalton's law of partial pressures, I guess. This also is important when it comes to mixtures. Okay. Oh, the screen sharing has stopped. I'm sorry. Just give me a second. Yeah. So, according to partial law of pressures, is basically the same idea. Now, when you have multiple mixtures of gases, like into a same container, I sent some different types of gases. There is gas 1, gas 2, gas 3, gas 4. So only gas 1 exerts a pressure P1, gas 2 exerts a pressure P2, gas 3 exerts a pressure P3, and gas 4 exerts a pressure P4. The total pressure inside the container is basically the sum of all these pressures. That is a statement. The total pressure inside the container is basically all the pressures combined. Like, oh, the pressure only pressure that is put by just gas 1, only pressure that is put by gas 2, the only pressure that is put by gas 3, and the only pressure put by gas 4. So all you can do is just combine these pressures, and it is quite intuitive also if you really want to check it again. Just a second, on the next page. Yep. It's a very simple intuitive statement saying if the first gas has these many molecules, it is imparting this much of forces on the walls, different forces on the wall. So all the different forces by area, and forces by area. The total pressure is basically this, like it's a combination of all the other pressures. You might face one or two questions like this. I think I've seen one or two questions on this in worked out problems where they have a mixture of gases and they give individual pressures of both the gases and they ask you the total pressure. So simply have to find the summation. Okay. Now that brings us to this part. Let me teach that. Let me talk about it. So we've talked about a lot of things, and we have this statement also, which is a very most important statement right from the beginning. Like I said, VRMS square. This is our we've been using the other one also, like what P equals to rho VRMS square. Both the statements like it's the same thing. You send V this side and you'll get this thing. So from this, they bring the ideal gas equation. This is a basically ideal gas equation. It's not anything different, but the ideal gas equation that you've been looking at your whole life. Okay, so we try to bring that. It's not that difficult. PV, and they take this 1/3 nm to a side, and in the place of VRMS square, do you remember this part? Let me charge my phone. Sorry, I bad. And meanwhile, I'll take you through this thing. Do you remember this part where we discussed Yeah, this part. When I just introduce this equation, PV equals to 1/3 mv square, they talk about temperature and VRMS relation, the relation between the temperature and VRMS. I've taken you through this thing. They take a specific temperature and specific VRMS at a specific point. So it's like you take this point, you introduce specific pressure, specific VRMS, or you take specific temperature, specific pressure. So from that they come with these 2 points, right? Like the temperature related to VRMS and VRMS at some other temperature, which is nothing but 273.16. So at this specific temperature we have this thing. It's just a, what do you call, a proportionality ratio. T by 273.16 is equals to V square by V triple point into square. So this is the relation that we use, and since these values are standard values, 273.16 and this value are standard, that those are the values that we are going to use again. Okay, VRMS, what was the value again? T by 273.16 equals to VRMS square by VTR square. So all these values are basically standard. I'm going to use VRMS equals to VTR whole square 273.16 into T. It's just a VRMS, just replacing this value. It's like bringing temperature into this equation, that's all. In the place of VRMS, I'm basically bringing temperature into this equation. So I get PV equals to MVTR whole square 273.16, and there's also a 3 into T. Now we almost reached at this equation now. PV equals to N, this whole thing is simply taken as a constant, NKT. This whole thing is simply converted into a constant which is called as NKT, where the K, you already must know, is called as a Boltzmann constant. It's basically called as Boltzmann's constant. It has a value obviously because we have all the values here. Okay, we have all the values that are present there. So we have and this, guys, can be called as an ideal gas equation. Again, this is also an ideal gas equation, strictly speaking. We didn't really change it, we simply change the terms. So some people don't even write it like this. They even convert it into PV equals to, this is the total number of molecules. They simply write it as N into total number of moles into 6.023 into 10 to the power of 23 into KT. Total number of moles into number of molecules in one mole. They take these two apart and convert this into PV equals to nRT. The pressure, volume, number of moles, the ideal gas constant, they all have fixed values, and temperature. So these are the variables here. Pressure varies, volume varies, this varies, and this right here, guys, is a constant value. Okay. Now in chemistry you might have seen this, but it's just mandatory that you learn how we actually get this equation. I mean, we actually use mechanics. Do you remember how we got at this equation? We simply use the mechanics and try to derive this equation. We simply define how pressure is, and from that point we defined all these equations. So used mechanics to arrive at this specific equation, and of course we made assumptions. What were the assumptions? I'm just repeating those assumptions again. That the IMFA is neglected. Clearly there are a lot of things like that are neglected, but these are the important things. The intermolecular forces of attraction were neglected. The size of the molecules was neglected. Size of the molecules were neglected, and there are a lot of things like collisions are considered elastic, the forces between the molecules and the walls of the content, they're all neglected. So all the neglect, I mean all the ideas that we neglected, we simply arrived at this equation, PV equals to nRT. So this equation is basically talking about all the laws that we talked, because at constant temperature, let me show you all those things again into this thing. This PV equals to nRT, it is basically talking about all the Boyle's law, Charles law, like we have constant temperature, fixed gas. Number of moles is also fixed, a constant temperature. So which clearly says PV equals to constant or P proportional to 1 by V. So when these two are constant. Now another situation, PV equals to nRT. This time, again, the gas is always fixed, so the number of moles is fixed, the volume is fixed this time. So constant volume, P proportional to T. And then another situation, PV equals to nRT. Pressure is constant. So this time it is clearly showing us V proportional to T. And then PV equals to nRT. I already talked about it. P, V, and T are same. Whenever P and V and T are same, obviously N has to be a fixed value. N also has to be same. Number of moles and number of. So all the Boyle's law, all the Charles law, all the Avogadro's law are all simply put in a simple equation, which is basically the ideal gas equation. And this, from this point, guys, onwards, because this equation speaks of all the other quantities that we have here, all the other quantities, all the other laws that we've come across. From this point onwards, we are going to use this equation, and this is where all the problems start. All the mathematics start from this point. Like if you check, uh, let me show you that. This is the theory that we're done with today, and let me show you the problems. In the worked out problems, if you talk about the worked out problem, the very first problem starts with the same idea, PV equals to nRT. So until now, what we've learned is basically how we arrive at this equation, how we got ourselves at this equation. Now, what kind of problems are we going to face? There are different kinds of models, okay? There are different kinds of styles. Let me just take you through one of those few models, okay? Like, let me show you how. So, there are problems where they simply talk about there is a container, pressure, volume, temperature is also given. They might ask simple questions like how much, what is the number of moles, and what is the volume, or what is the temperature. So they single quantities. They might give questions like that. Now, of course, that is easy, right? That is very easy to handle. But the good kind of questions is where they take out some n1 number of moles from this gas. They take out some number of moles of gas, okay, and they give you some why don't I just frame a question here, okay? There is this container, yes, I have taken out the number of moles, the temperature was constant throughout. Temperature was constant throughout. Again, I don't mention anything. What is the final pressure? What is the final pressure once I've taken out number of moles, n1 number of moles out of it? What is the final pressure? They don't even mention that, but the volume is also here constant. Why is the volume constant? Because it's the same container. As long as it's the same container, the volume is constant. Okay, so the volume is constant. He mentioned the temperature is constant. Number of moles have decreased. So all I have to do is, initially the container has PVNT, sorry, NT. Now it has all like just make this a habit, okay? Whenever you're solving a problem from kinetic theory of gases, always try to draw the initial and the final situations. It gets easy for you. Final situation, let's just say the pressure has become P1, the volume is still V, the volume did not change. The temperature is still T, it did not change. The number of moles is N minus N1. So the one thing I can do is PV equals to nRT on this side, P1 V equals to N minus N1 into RT on this side. All I have to do is just equate, divide these equations. P by P1 equals to N by N minus 1. From that, I can easily find the pressure P1, final pressure P1. Just a simple way. I mean, like the questions are put in different styles. Okay, they don't always are in the same way. Let me form a question. Okay, why don't you people give it a try and let me know the answer. Okay, so how do I frame a question? Let me try this. Question number 2. I'm just randomly framing it. I don't know if I'm not sure if I can get the question right. There is this container which is closed. It's a free piston, frictionless piston. It's a frictionless piston, so it can easily move. There is some weight. Because of this weight, outside pressure is P0, inside pressure is already given as P1. And the volume is V1. Temperature is T1. Okay. Now, let me frame this question. Now, this is how I frame. I heated it and took to temperature 2T1. Took it to a temperature 2T1. I increase the temperature. What are the quantities that are going to change? If you have any ideas, please raise your hands and let me know right now. What are the quantities that are going to change? It's a frictionless piston. That is how I frame it. Sharath.
Sir, pressure and volume.
Pressure and volume. You're thinking both will change?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Sir, when we heat something, sir, obviously it'll start expanding. That's one reason.
It expands,
And
yes. Then
and so like while expanding also in the cases of gas, like usually they try to reach the top part, right, sir? So there'll be more pressure.
now this is where you missed a simple point here. Now, why is there a pressure difference between outside and inside? P0 and P1. Sharath, please raise your hand and why is there a difference between outside and inside?
Because there's a block
Because
place
exactly that there is a
outside.
weight. Now, did I change the weight?
No, sir.
So as long as I don't change the weight, the pressure still remains the same, right? So this is the kind of quantities they don't mention in the problem. That is the point.
Sir,
Again,
but there's net movement, right, sir?
no. You don't ever
There's
consider net moments. Okay. The thing is, guys, remember the piston as I heated it up from T1 to 2T1, initial final I'm drawing. The outside pressure is always atmospheric pressure, it doesn't change. Now, since I didn't change any weight on it, the inside pressure is P1 here and it is also P1 because the pressure difference is balancing the weight of the block. They don't mention this thing. They simply say things like the block, it's the same block, it didn't change. Okay. So you have to understand the pressure did not change from that. So yes, it clearly is visible that the volume might have changed. It was V1. Did I give it as V1? Yes. Now it is some V2. No gas has leaked. So number of moles must be still the same, N only. Did you see any gas leaking? No. The number of moles is still same. So the only thing that has changed, the pressure is same. So I can write P1 V1 equals to NR T1. P1 V2 equals to NR 2T1. So we can clearly say that if I divide these two equations, V1 by V2 equals to T1 by 2T1. So V2 equals to 2V1. So the volume simply gets doubled. That is as simple as it is. Now that is because I have to mention that the piston is frictionless. The piston is not going to change anything. Sharath, do you get it? Now, let me give you another question now. I can frame random questions like this, a lot of number of questions, okay? They're not going to change anything. Look at this situation. The question goes like, how do I put it? Yeah. So there is this container, initially P1, V1, T1. I'm saying the temperature was maintained constant. Like I will mention that the temperature is constant. But the temperature is constantly maintained, nothing was changed. But I increased the weight to 2 blocks. I increased the weight to 2 blocks. Initially it was M. I will even mention the weight also. M. And the plate's area is also mentioned A. So what happens to volume and what happens to other things? Can somebody tell me how do you approach this problem? Obviously no gas has leaked, so number of moles is N and number of moles is N. Outside pressure, anybody is willing to do the problem? Sharath, you raised your hand and gone again. Anyway, outside pressure is P0 here. Outside pressure is P0 here. inside pressure, let us just call it as P2, and volume has clearly the volume has decreased, so P2 V2. How are we going to approach this problem, Sharath?
Sir, here we are supposed to take delta P, right, sir?
Not delta P, like always remember, just try to draw the initial and final situations, okay? We have the initial and final situation. So P1 V1 equals to NR T1, P2 V2 equals to NR T2. Sorry,
Okay.
T1 only, NR T1 only. Okay,
So we'll
so
have to equate P1 V1 and P2
P1 V1
V2.
equals to P2 V2. But I didn't give you, like, it feels like you didn't get the enough information, but it is clearly visible. P1 is nothing but P naught plus mg by A. P2 is nothing but P naught plus 2 mg by A. Force by
Sir,
area.
shouldn't it be subtracted?
What? The pressure must be more than P naught, right? Sharath.
Yes, sir.
So into
Okay,
V.
sir. So here we are will be considering as them as scalars, so we add them, like
Yeah,
mathematically
yeah.
speaking.
So from this point, I can clearly find the final volume of the gas. All the other quantities were given initially. Only V2 was the variable, so I can easily find that value. As simple as that. Did you get it, guys? No. So this is how the questions are framed. Like there can be more questions. Like it's not a single type of a question. Let me tell you something else. Let me give you another example. Let me think about. Yeah, we can do this. There is this type of questions sometimes. Okay. So let's go to the workload examples and show you some. Look at this question number three again. Mixture of temperatures. So all they're doing is basically adding the partial pressures. P1, V1. They're basically adding the partial pressures and solving the question. Why don't you people go through all these questions once? Okay, like all the workload problems. They're really good. One, two, three, four. They're basically on the same idea, ideal gas equation only. Even the graph problem, there is a graph problem, interesting problem. This is like a very good problem. I want you to go through this problem also. And the sixth problem you can easily do it because I've already done that. He's simply asking us to change this VT graph into PV graph, I guess. This is easy, that easy for you people. Let's talk about these kind of questions, okay? The seventh question is an interesting one. So they take two containers. There are different styles in this again. They take two containers. Initially, they're closed. They went to fill P1, V1 at temperature T1. They fill it with P2, V2 at temperature T2, let's just say. Okay. So they mention one thing that this container is always at temperature T1. This container is always at temperature T2. They open this. They open this and you get, once they open it, what are the final situations? You need to make these statements, like what are the final initial cases. Finally, when it is open, the pressures have to be equal, right? The gas will flow as long as the pressures are equal. So let's not write it as P naught P naught. Let us give it as P dash P dash. The volumes are still V1 V2. The temperatures are still T1 T2 because the temperatures are maintained, remember? So all I'm going to do, like, can anybody give me what am I going to do here? Give me an idea of what am I going to do here? What other thing that I've been missing? Sharath.
Sir, we try to equate the partial pressures and then we try
Partial
to find a
pressures you don't
relation.
really have to do. Partial pressures you don't really have to do. It's a very simple idea. Let us just imagine initially there are n1 number of moles here. Here there are n2 number of moles. The number of moles have changed. I mean, like some of the moles have moved from one container to another container, but it is completely inside this whole thing only. So I'm going to write the final number of moles like this. Like watch. Initially, I'm going to write P1 V1 by T1, also R, because it equals to N1. On this side, it is P2 V2 by R T2, which is N2. Here, I'm going to write here I'm going to write P dash V1 by R T1 plus P dash V2 by R T2. This is the total number of moles. I'll just equate it to initial number of moles, which is like the total. Initially we have N1, N2, right? So I'll put N1 here and N2 here, these quantities that we have. So that right is that there is a equation that we can solve, and from that you can easily find, let me write those values also, why not? P1 V1 by R T1, P2 V2 by R T2. Okay, yeah, from this equation you can directly find the value P dash. I mean, P dash can be taken out and directly find the value of P dash. P dash equals to V1 by RT1 plus V2 by RT2 equals to P1 V1 by RT1 plus P2 V2 by RT2. R is cancelled throughout. I think we have the answer here. P dash equals to P1 V1 by T1 plus P2 V2 by T2 by V1 by T1 plus V2 by T2. You have to simplify that, that's all. But you see what I'm trying to do. There are no rules, or there are no like specific ways or steps to do these kind of problems. All you have to do is simply practically follow what is happening. Like initial case and final case. Simply try to draw the initial case and final case, and almost all the problems can be solved just by looking at initial and final cases only. Okay, there isn't a lot of pressure on these kind of questions. Okay, let me take you through more of these worked out problems. So that is a problem that we just done here. Again, yeah, the same kind of models. Pressure is changing, number of moles is changing, pressure is changing, number of moles is changing. These kind of questions sometimes. Like there are two containers. Look at this question. Okay, there are two containers. I mean, there is a single container and there's a piston in between. There's a piston in between. Okay, this is an interesting one. Like there are different styles of questions in this. There are questions where the piston is frictionless. Some questions. Since it is frictionless, the pressure on both the sides, P must always be same, because if there is no friction, the pressure must always balance this thing. So they try to heat this up, try to change the temperature on this side, try to change the temperature T1, T2, V1, V2. They all might change, like the piston move from this side to this side. But the pressures must be equal as long as it's a frictionless piston. That is the important point here. There could be questions where the piston is fixed. Another model, completely another different style. The same problem, but the piston this time is fixed. So now the pressures cannot be changed, the volumes cannot be changed. The pressures, yeah, can be changed. Let's just say P1, V1, T1 is the initial situation. P2, V2, T2 is the initial situation on this side. Once they change the temperatures, it's the pressures that need to change, because the volumes cannot change. It is V1 and V2 only because it is fixed. The volumes cannot change, so it's the pressures and temperatures that need to adjust. So there are like different styles, guys. Like I can give you n number of models. There is in fact a question with spring constant also. That is an interesting one. Like there is a piston, smooth, frictionless. They connect it to a spring. Okay, this is an interesting question. So they heat it up. Initially it starts from P1, V1, T1 only. Okay, they heat it up to another temperature. They heat it up to another temperature. So because of the temperature rise, the spring, obviously compresses. Now the pressure is some P2, volume is V2, the temperature is T2, let's just say. There are different styles now. Like initially, let's say the spring is not compressed. So here the pressure is P0, the inside pressure also must be P0. Now, here the pressure is P0, the inside pressure must actually balance Kx also. So this time, in the final case, P2 equals to P0 plus the spring force Kx by area of the piston also. So you take the final pressure. All you have to do is equate the number of moles P naught V1 by T1 here, P2 V2 by T2. There could be different styles. Again, like all can be solved with the common sense only. There is nothing strange or nothing new in these kind of questions. Sharad, what is it?
Excuse me, sir. Here the system isn't horizontal, right, sir? So there shouldn't be P naught. There should be.
If the system is not horizontal, why shouldn't be there P naught? P naught is atmosphere pressure. It comes in every direction, anyway, every way. P
So,
naught
but
even
like
can
it'll
come
be
from bottom
constant, right,
also.
sir?
Beta
So,
P naught can come from bottom also. Okay.
okay, sir.
Yeah. Now another thing. Look at this thing. There is this problem where test tube and liquid. I mean, there is mercury in this, and there is a gas inside. Okay, they invert the test tube, and the mercury doesn't really fall off. They simply say this is the length of the initial column. Now the length of the column is L2. The temperature is constant. They mention simply temperature is constant. So all you have to do is here the pressure is it's exposed to atmosphere. So the pressure inside is P naught plus rho GH. Since it is inverted in the second case, here the pressure is P naught. Now the pressure is P naught minus rho GH. So initial pressure, final pressures are given. Initial volumes can be financial volumes can be written. So again written. So all you have to do is again P1 V1 equals to P2 V2. I mean, people do cover different models on these questions. I don't like to do that. Okay, I don't like to cover the different models on this question. Basically, every question is based on common sense. Almost every question. All you have to do is look at the mechanics of the situation: initial number of moles, final number of moles, initial number of pressure, final number of pressure, final amount of pressure, temperatures. All you have to do is like which one is changing, which one is constant. That is how I approach all these problems. I don't look them as different models. Okay, so that is what you need to people need to do. Now along with these problems, like I want you to try as many as problems on this thing on HCOM. Like just look at all these problems almost up to what 13 14 you can check. 14 15 16 17, in fact 17 16 also. What? Okay, wait a second, we went to some other topic here. Hmm. They're in thermodynamics, right? Not thermodynamics, kinetic theory of gases. Can somebody give me the page number of kinetic theory of gases? Anybody? H.C. Verma. I'm sorry about this. Heat transfer. Yep. Now here we are. So almost up to all these problems, up to problem number 16, 17, you can check today only. 17, 18, 19. Also, yeah, you can check all these problems today if you really want. Okay. But there is just a lost small in the worked out sorry, in the exercises also you can come almost up to 30, 31, 32, almost up to this points, I guess. Yeah, you can try these questions, but they might like it's just a question framing. Again, using your common sense you can solve these questions easily. It's not strange ideas, it's not different ideas, it's just a common sense. They do this, they do that, they put a glass tube, they put a spring or some things like that. Again, these kind of problems, they have two containers and different styles. So I want you all to try these problems properly, like try these problems and check them. Now once that is done, oh, in fact you can all try these questions, but they're a bit advanced level. I might have to discuss, I mean I definitely have to take a session only just on problems in this topic, I guess. Okay, so there are more number of questions up to 62, but let's talk about the questions up to 40. Okay, I want you all to try these problems today in this week. Okay, now there is this last concept that I just wanted to discuss, which is not vapor. Yep, this point. which is again an important idea. RMS speed, just you might face some problems on that. So we have RMS speed, VRMS, as root over 3p by rho, right? But they put it in different forms. We can convert this into different forms. Let me show you that. Okay, we have PV equals to nRT. Do you people know that we can convert this into PM equals to rho RT? PM equals to rho RT. How do you do that? Like, all you have to do is write volume in terms of mass by density, nRT. No, this is not the total mass. I'm sorry. Let's write the total mass of the gas as small m. Total mass of the gas, PM mass equals to volume, right? So PM equals to N into rho RT. Now, since M is a total mass, I'm going to write M by N. Total mass by number of moles is basically molecular weight. So PM equals to rho RT. This right here is a molecular weight of the gas. I hope you all remember all the molecular weights of all the gases from chemistry class already. If you cannot remember those values, molecular weights, it's impossible to, you know, approach at this problem. So from this, I'm going to write P by rho equals to RT by M. So I use this P by rho in this beginning equation, P by rho. So root over 3 into, in the place of P by rho, I'm going to use RT by M. So 3 RT by M. VRMS equals to 3 RT by M. Okay, so that is just a different form, the different way to put it. You can put them in all other ways, all the other forms. You can change temperature into something else. You can change molecular weight into something else. These equations can be put in different forms. It's up to you people. If it is given in temperature, you can directly link VRMS into temperature. You can, if it is given in something else, you can relate it to that. It's just your call from that point onwards. Okay, just wanted to mention that VRMS in the temperature relation. There are problems on this thing. They directly give the temperature and molecular weight of the gas. I mean, like they mention the gas and the temperature, like to say 300 Kelvin nitrogen. How much is VRMS? All you have to do is just put the temperature values, molecular weight of nitrogen, and VRMS values. Bam. Like they give you questions like this. And if only they mention question like what is the rate of diffusion of VRMS. Like we already have the rate of diffusion ratio. Rate of diffusion R1 by R2 is VRMS 1 by VRMS 2. From that, you can even find root over 3R T1 by molecular 1 gas, root over 3R second gas by second molecular weight. Like they want us to compare two different gases. This is how you do it. Now, so just another idea, and there is this additional values not just from this RMS. RMS is always root over 3 RT by M or 3 pi by rho. There is these two additional values, which is V average and V most probable. Now these two values are completely statistically formed. Like you don't have that level of mathematics, but you just have the formulas for you people. Okay, this average is given as 8 RT by pi M, and V most probably is given as root 2 RT by M, as far as I remember. Just for the problem's sake, you remember the formulas, that's all. There is this theory about it, about distribution. What do you call it as? There is this word for it. I don't remember the names. Yeah, Maxwell speed distribution law. I will talk about it tomorrow, not today. But just these formulas are supposed to be remembered. If just for the problem's sake, like whenever they give you a problem and ask you about RMS, V average, and most probable velocity also. Just remember this thing. Like they're really close values. You see that 3 and this value is 2, and this is also nearly equal to 2, I guess. 8 by 3.14 comes around 2 point something, right? So just formulas that you need to remember, that's all. Okay, so for tomorrow, guys, you need to solve as questions possible. Just go through them. I understand after problem number 30 it gets really advanced, it gets really difficult to solve a lot of problems, but we will definitely have a session of just for the problem solving, and we can go ahead after that. Okay, tomorrow's class will be the last class on theory if you want, because there is just a evaporation part that is needed to be discussed, and obviously problems. So there is a problem session and there is a last part of discussion. We will look at it according to our schedule, and we'll complete that. So before I end the session, if you people have any doubts, raise your hands and speak. Anybody? Okay, then I think it's really easy to understand all these parts. So I'm just ending the session. Thank you so much, and bye bye.